fellow Minecrafters, Gearsaw Studios here. Today I'm going to show you how to build a mushroom house, so that way you have a nice way to inhabit everyone's favorite shroomy biome. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out. So with that, onto the tutorial. Now, before we begin building, we have to choose what blocks we're going to use. So, of course, we are going to be using some mushroom-related blocks. But I'm not going to be using brown mushroom blocks because red mushroom blocks are just better. Now, for the rest of the blocks, we don't need much since it's an organic build and doesn't require much frame. So, we're going to use a mixture of crimson wood for accents and birch wood for everything else. Now, in order to begin building, find a nice flat area, such as on a mushroom field or flattening part of a dark forest, possibly even a swamp, but I'm just going to build it in this mushroom fields biome. Now, in order to begin building, start just placing stuff in a semicircular pattern, but don't make it too circular. Make it look organic and natural, like this mushroom has been growing for a long time. Now, we have a rather simple frame. You can expand it on some directions in order to make the base wider, which will give you a little more room to work with. Now, place down your door, which can be crimson or birch, in order to make it look better. And then we can start going up. Now, going up is kind of tough due to how mushrooms are structured, or really just any organic build. So it might require a little bit of practice, but the general rule is try to make it kind of like a circle and a cylinder at the same time and include a lot of curves to make it look good. Also, don't forget you can expand the bottom and go into the ground to make some roots. Now, immediately, since the roots have been added, it provides a nice foundation for this mushroom. And going up can be hard, and building with mushroom blocks can be a pain at times. However, it does pay off since mushrooms are very cool looking. So I'd highly recommend keep trying with the mushrooms, even if they can get annoying, because what happens is, you place 2 blocks, decide you don't want one, and now you have the poor texture. So you have to replace that one too, and it just turns into a chain reaction. But still, use these blocks. Now, we have a pretty good base for the mushroom, and I've been going up a little. But eventually, it becomes awkward when you just keep going up, which means you gotta go inward a little, which absolutely sucks from a building perspective when doing. Because going up also means you have to deal with more poor textures like this, and poor textures are just annoying to deal with. So try not to go up too much at a time, so keep it rather gradual to reduce the pain. Now, it's getting rather tall. As you can see, I've been going up a little, placing blocks throughout the build, and overall, it's not recognizable as a mushroom, but rather a giant pile of bird poop, but it's still a start to the build. However, once you get to a certain point, you're going to have to start expanding again, so that way it turns into an actual mushroom. Also, a little tip, normal blocks that aren't mushrooms do not create pore textures, so this way you can make adjustments without causing a chain reaction. Now we have the mushroom's base, and it goes all the way up to the middle, which is a pretty good point to start getting ready for the other part. Over time, you might actually become off-centered from the door or centerpiece of your build. However, this is actually a good thing, because if you just keep going this direction, now you have a slanted mushroom, a much better build. So I recommend just going up and doing the inverse of what you did here, but keeping this direction in mind, so that way your thing becomes slanted, and slanted builds are pretty cool looking, so I recommend giving it a shot. After some minor adjustments here and there, and adding the top part of the mushroom, it's time for the utterly terrifying part, the cap of the mushroom. And quite honestly, I've never actually built a mushroom before this, so it can be pretty tough. What you want to do is start just going outwards until you reach the desired level, and then start going back down again. Of course, it doesn't have to be too terribly large, but it should be relatively large. Oh, make these little veins coming off all parts of it. But don't make too many, because that will look weird. Now, with some brown mushrooms randomly spawning in thanks to lightning, we now have 8 little veins coming off of the top of this. Of course, this is a very extreme example of what you could do, and you can definitely go smaller, and if you're crazy, you can also go bigger. But the thing is now, you have a bit of a base here. So, start placing down red mushroom blocks, and start just making a ring that connects the ends of each vein together, and then add another layer below that. Now, with the first 2 rings put in, this mushroom is seriously coming together, and you may notice something. This is not a perfect circle at all, nowhere near it, and that's actually really good, because a perfectly circle mushroom is very weird. So, unless you're building a concrete mushroom, avoid direct circles. Now, just keep going up, but before you do that, make sure that you go to the center of your build and go up here, or about here, so that way the top of this is elevated so you can have a nice room up here. With probably an hour of your life gone, you now have a cap completed. So it's a little weird. So we need to add something to finish it off at the ends, such as a little droopy part like this. Of course, this is just an example, but make the ends kind of sag down a little to make it a little more realistic. This will make it pretty cool looking and, of course, realistic. With the droopy bits on each side of the mushroom, the cap is nearly done. All we need to do is get the pore texture on this side, because the pore texture is for pores on the mushroom. But this is an actual part where the pores would be, so we need a way to do that. If you're in survival mode, then you're going to have to do it like this, which can be very time consuming. Also, you might want to add an inverse cap here, so that way you have room up here. What you want is pores everywhere, and if you're in Java creative mode, you can actually just use the debug stick and go across like this. I've gotten started on adding the pore blocks in order to make the underside look kinda cool, but there's something you should remember. Lighting is an important aspect of any build, so adding some shroom lights, which match rather well onto various parts of the mushroom, will light it up while also making it, well, good looking, because the blocks do match pretty well, considering they do have shroom in the name. So add shroom lights throughout the build to light it up. Now, with the pores mostly done, and me now having a newfound hatred of mushroom blocks, the cap of the mushroom is done, and we can start moving on down here. Of course, the giant mushroom is making it kind of dark, so it's time to make mini mushrooms with end rods. End rods are a good lighting source, and they do make little mushrooms, so if you do it like this, end rod, mushroom, and then just go around the build, now you have some lighting up and a cute little garden. Now, with some little baby mushrooms and some shroom lights, we can finally move on to the interior. And I've definitely not wasted too much time on the actual mushroom cap. Now, for the interior, do birch planks, and because the awkward shape, it's not going to be possible to do any staircase. So, make various floors using birch planks, and it's okay if they're misaligned like this, because here's the thing, you're not going to be able to do anything perfectly with this strange shape. And that's what makes a mushroom build cool. So just decorate this around with some shroom lights, lanterns, and birch planks. A couple of floors have been put in, and I somehow managed to line up a shaft for a ladder elevator thingamajig. But up here, since this room is rather weirdly shaped, we're just going to have this wall design. It's a little weird, and we can change it to pores, or we could just change it to stem right now. But this room is going to be unique because it doesn't exactly fit. It's just a normal room. So build up a normal room up here, and don't forget your shroom lights to light this up. This will be the bedroom. Now, at this pretty small bedroom, just place down a bed, and you can have a nightstand consisting of the mushroom stem and a flower pot with a mushroom. And I'm surprised I haven't made any shroom puns. Now, we can have some barrels on either side and put some slabs on top of them to make them look good. Now, we have a bedroom, and we can move on to the other parts down here. Down here on the first floor, just install some quick utilities such as cartography tables, smokers with trapdoors, furnaces, a stone cutter is nice, crafting tables, whatever you can think of, because this floor is just utilities. Now, place down a ladder going all the way up here, and fill in any gaps. Since these two areas are very small, I combined them because there isn't too much you can add, and this side doesn't really matter because it's too elevated. So, the best idea, chests. Just stack them up, and it can be kind of hard to do this if you're in creative mode, and then make them double. Now we have quite the large amount of storage, which you can promptly increase depending on your needs. So do it like this, and now you have all the storage you need inside your mushroom house. Now the mushroom is done, and it's very large and pretty. So it's a pretty good thing, but it definitely requires a lot of resources because mushrooms are rather annoying to get. Of course, you could always go with the mini base by just adding a couple blocks down here, or you could just dress up a mushroom like this. But this build is absolutely amazing, and I do recommend giving it a shot, despite how annoying mushrooms are to build with. So, with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. We're getting rather close to 100, which I would have never expected this channel to get to. So, please like and subscribe. So, with that, take care, vote for the light, or vote for the copper golem. I don't care, just don't vote for the glare. Gearsaw, out.